terms of that spark and that quality, you're looking for someone who has a true and genuine interest in what they're doing, because it comes across when so much of what we're doing, because it's a physical activity, you are client facing, whether you're delivering an event as a coach, whether that being you're talking to an organisation about events, however you're doing it, you're so much dealing with people. And if you don't genuinely enjoy or have a link or a passion to what you're doing, it comes across when you're talking to people. If you're a good actor, you can fake it for a short period of time, but you can't make it consistent. And generally, if you have a passion for what you're doing, if you love what you're doing, you will learn whatever you need to learn to do that thing. And every job has skills, and obviously if you've got the skills already in place, then amazing. But if you haven't, you're going to learn them because you've got that passion. And if you try to go into an area of industry that you don't have passion for, it's never really going to work. I'm Jim. I'm the owner for UK Haddo, and we're the master license for the sport of Haddo that covers the UK and the Republic of Ireland. Various different ways, and it kind of depends on who we're talking to, whether it's dodgeball on steroids or Marvel meets sports, and it's all in that sort of vein. The word Haddo itself is Japanese for energy blast. And so anyone who's ever played Street Fighter will have encountered the Hadouken, which is Energy Blast Power Fist, and that's why it's called Haddo. I really like the way that the focus is on the practical learning rather than theoretical. So the abundance of recording studios, the esports area, those points where you can actually get hands-on with doing what you're learning rather than somebody necessarily at the front of a classroom just telling you about it. And for the content and what's being learned here, that's so much more valuable than just being told about it. And I can see why Confetti's got the reputation it has. I think both places like Confetti and the industry with ideas are really, really important. It's very easy to get caught up in theory, and it's very and ideas of how things might work in your head without applying reality to it. And the real world doesn't work in the way that a theoretical course tends to tell you that it works. And the more experience you have of both meeting with people who are in that constantly changing environment, and also of actively working with the technology yourself and understanding when it goes wrong, because things go wrong, that's life, is hugely valuable. We find the single best way to get people to fall in love with the sport, and they do, is to get them playing. So to be able to take a court to a location for people to try it, to play the sport is very valuable to us. It's very useful. We do a huge number of shows around the UK with different events and pieces, just to give people the opportunity to try it. Because although there are locations around the UK where you can go and play the sport, there's still only a handful of them, and therefore people's access to the sport to actually try it themselves is limited. Okay, the key one in terms of advice to get to where I'm at, where people are in the industry, is to remember that in terms of qualifications and what you study, all knowledge is useful across the board, but within basically the esports world as a whole, whether it be players, production, management, less than half of the people in senior positions have any kind of degree or higher qualification. Very few of them have anything actually relevant to the industry they work in. That's slowly starting to change because of places like Confetti doing what they're doing. But for the people that created those positions, who built the industry, who brought things through, they were all working in a time where there were no qualifications. And because the industry changes and grows so rapidly, that being there and doing it is what matters. And what you see within the industry, you have, rather than people being referred to as employees, people referred to as talent. Because I can't ask you for, if I want a Haddo coach, I can't ask for someone to have 3 years experience coaching Haddo. No one's got that. So I can't ask for that. What I can look for is the raw talent for someone who's clearly got good people skills, is comfortable with technology, comes across well, because I can teach you everything you need to know, but I can't give you that spark. And it's that spark, that talent, that's being looked for both for ourselves and across the industry, because we can then take that and we can nurture that into something great, and we want to help that grow into something great, because that's how we get the best people. Yeah, there you go. I was one of the first people who qualified under the new training setups things as a fencing instructor. I teach 14th century Italian martial arts. And we host the biggest European martial arts event in Europe at one of our venues. Everything from 13th century German sword and buckler through to World War II British hand-to-hand commando training. So that's the sort of world that we came from, and then we found Haddo. I suppose finding Haddo was a big key moment for us. Earning the license for the UK and Republic of Ireland was big, and then moving into the realisation that we could do far more with it than was being done by the originators in Japan. When we started looking at what could we do in terms of bringing this to an audience, and we got involved with the IBC with their accelerator projects, which we won in 2021, and we beat Sky Sports and a whole load of others in doing so. And we realised that not only could we have this amazing sport that was fantastic to play and to watch, that the two teams didn't need to be on the same arena. So it meant we now had a physical team sport that could be played remotely. And once you no longer have to travel to play a team sport, what that opens up is incredible. And off the back of that, we've been playing matches between Coventry and Seoul in South Korea. We've been playing against Miami without anybody getting on a plane, but we're playing a physical team sport. Okay, so Haddo creates a cloud environment for the court where it shares all the data, and that cloud is then transmitted down to each player's headset and each of the cameras, and the headsets and cameras then render the graphics from the wearer's perspective. And those graphics are overlaid and integrated with reality, so you still see the real world and everything around you, but now with computer graphics merged into the real world. Because it's all rendered from your perspective, the presence of the other person isn't relevant as long as you have their data. Each person's position on the court is controlled by the banners, so artwork that sits at each end of the pitch. And merged into that artwork, you have AR tracking markers that allow the people to the system knows where you are. But if I'm looking at a red banner and you're looking at a blue banner, we don't have to be on the same court. We just have to be linked to the same server. So actually your capacity to play people is controlled by being able to keep latency low enough. So we can do that for both the tournament, for broadcast and everything else. As long as we can keep our latency low enough, we can be anywhere. So we can cloud produce for content, we can have teams in different countries playing each other. There are no limitations as long as the connectivity is good enough.
As long as there's no lag.
You have to stay below 120 milliseconds, which is not particularly difficult. Most systems are well below 120 milliseconds. Haddo itself is continuing to evolve. The latest evolution of it, which is now launched in Japan, and we're hoping to bring to the UK very soon, is called Haddo Idol Wars. Now, in every sport, pretty much without exception, maybe Formula E is about the only exception out there, as an audience, you are a passive viewer. You're a passive participant in what's going on. You're watching people compete in a sport. What Idol Wars does is it makes the audience active participants. So when you play the sport normally, you can control how fast your energy blasts travel, you can control how big they are, how often you can fire, how many shields you can raise, and there's a huge amounts of tactics and strategy to what you pick. Different people within the team will make different choices. In Idol Wars, you don't get to choose your stats. Instead, your fan base, through an app, gifts you energy, and enough energy points equals a stat point. So the bigger your fan base, the better your game stats become. And in Japan, they've launched this where all the teams are J-pop bands. So it's the fan base of the band that's backing them, and it's a entertainment experience. So you get the latest singles from the bands, you get interviews with the band members, you get the matches played, and it's this huge integrated entertainment experience where the audience are fully integrated with it. They are part of it. You know, if you don't watch your band play, you don't give them energy, that might have been the energy points they need to get that next stat point, which would have helped them win the game. So now the players on the pitch are your representatives rather than just people you're passively watching, and you are now an integrated part of the whole experience. And that's going to be the next stage forward in evolution for what we're looking at doing. Obviously, it's going to be difficult to say because technology is leaping forward so fast. I mean, we know from the work we do with all the mobile operators that by the time we hit 2030, that dynamic holograms will be a commercially standard thing. So AR itself can merge through and leap into the holographic elements. So where the technology can take us becomes quite incredible. And in the time frame we're talking about there's almost no way of predicting exactly where the technology is going to have gone to. All we know is that we can continue to integrate the viewing audience, keep this fantastic level playing field that Haddo offers, because Haddo Sport has no gender categories, has no age categories, because it's about skill and reflexes, not size and strength. And obviously that will stay as a core element of what's done as it evolves and moves forwards. And what we want is it to be more accessible, more open, more available for people to play, and everything's going to continue to drive down that line. For me, technology I couldn't live without is my phone, because Haddo is a mobile phone-based technology in the way it operates. So for us, in terms of both obviously general communication, that's key to everybody, but being able to, I can run an entire arena off my phone. I can access cameras that allow me to look into the AR off my phone, be able to have any viewpoint around it that I want to. I can photograph with the AR in place on my phone. I can film with it on my phone, because we're working on a mobile-based technology.